Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
Good Wednesday morning to you. It's 6:07 right now, and we're having way too much fun. Although we have more fun in store, actually. So it's not too much. We're going to overflow with fun. Coming up in 30 minutes, Cal Thomas will be our guest. 7:05, Robert Cahaley of Trafalgar Group give us the latest poll data on Virginia. We may even ask about New Jersey. It's the Garden State, you know. Coming up at 7:35, D.C. U.S. Attorney Judge Jeanine Pirro. 8:05 brings us Dr. Mark Siegel on that new study we discussed yesterday on peanut allergies. And then 8:35, a cast member of AIDA opening at the Kennedy Center, Morris Robinson. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Julie, would you call yourself a opera fan?
I mean, not no. I don't really follow it.
All right. Well, this is your chance to sort of be exposed to
Sure.
opera. The boys would love Aida. A lot of skin.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. All right. As I mentioned, Robert Cahaley, pollster for the Trafalgar Group, is going to join us. He did nail the 2021 election for governor, predicted Youngkin's victory by almost within like a tenth of a point. And so we'll find out what he's thinking it's looking like in Virginia. We do have an update, though. You know, the Jay Jones scandal, of course, at this point, with text messages and wishing murder upon a colleague and his children and police officers. Lost in the mix there, by the way. Jay Jones specifically wanted that violence to happen, or dreamed about that violence happening, so that it would help him win a political argument. Mm-hmm. Right? That's the key here. You know, your children have to be dying in your arms with blood on the ground before you might change your position.
That's right.
That's how they get people to change their positions, either literal violence or imaginary threats of violence that then emotionally manipulate you into bending to their will. That's Jay Jones. But lost in this entire Jay Jones text message scandal is the real victim in all of this, Julie. And I want to say, I feel bad. We've been covering this story for, 4 weeks now, 3 weeks. Yeah. And at no point did we stop for a minute and really think about the victim here. Think about how this is impacting the most vulnerable among us. We now recognize exactly who this story is really about and how it's really impacted the lives of those, again, most vulnerable among us. And you know who I'm talking about, of course. Who really got hurt in this Jay Jones texting story? Who's really suffering because of the Jay Jones texting story? Abigail Spanberger.
That's right.
She's the victim in all of this.
That's
and
right.
she whined about it yesterday in an interview. She was asked about the current state of the election and, of course, how the Jay Jones text message scandal is impacting her, because she hasn't wavered in her support of the man who wished death upon a political opponent. And, of course, she had that devastating debate performance where she couldn't even bring herself to look her opponent in the eye. Here's Abigail Spanberger pointing out who's really suffering because of all of this. Cut 10.
If I'm being very honest, we are 3 weeks away.
Wait. Hold on. We'll start again. You ever notice when a politician begins a statement with, if I'm being really honest, which really,
what?
It sort of points out that, okay, everything up until now.
Was it an option?
Right. Oh, hold on, everybody. Abigail Spanberger, the Democrat nominee for governor in Virginia, is now going to be honest with you.
Good to know. Good to know.
Thank you, Abigail. That puts everything else you've said up until now into perspective. Okay, go ahead. Let's listen again.
If I'm being very honest, we are 3 weeks away from an election in Virginia. I have worked tirelessly for 2 years running for this office. I announced in November 2023. The fact that I say this with all due respect because, I think it's a fair thing for you to ask about. The fact that I have to spend even a moment's time talking about somebody else's text messages from years ago rather than what I want to do as governor is something that I am deeply unhappy about. The fact that I can't spend every minute of the day talking about the plans that I have built out. Not to be too hokey about it, but like my multiple pages of plans, my affordability plan, my education plan, my
multiple
growing
pages.
Our economy plan, because of the poor choices of another candidate. It is something that really clouds my view of all of it. And so, what we, the collective, we would have done, had this information come to light much earlier. I will say this, I would be much, much happier as a candidate if I could just talk about all of the things that I am for.
I'd be so much happier if you stopped asking me these uncomfortable questions about my lack of principles and values and that I'm willing to stand by a violent individual.
It would be really nice if I didn't have to, talk about these icky subjects that my party, has brought up. I mean, she is, wow.
That's a piece
quite
of work
the prima
right
donna.
there.
Yeah.
This is really, no one stopped for a moment to think about how the J. Jones texting scandal was impacting Abigail Spanberger and her ability to talk about her plan for affordability.
Hi.
Is that not a piece of work?
It's a piece of work.
We
Truly.
cannot go through 4 years of this woman. Please, Virginia. God, I mean, by the way, from our perspective as radio hosts, absolute gold. Are you kidding?
Oh, right.
Please.
Right. But Larry, the just the selfishness, the narcissism on display there, the idea that, also it's a veiled sort of comment to the media. She is saying, you guys have really stepped out of line. Usually we control the narrative. Usually I don't have to answer these really inconvenient questions because usually you guys are, just basically an adjunct of the Democrat Party. But I don't know why you guys have gotten so off the narrative here, which is just praising me.
Get on board, people.
And acting as stenographers. Yeah. So it's interesting how this has really rattled her. There's no doubt about it. And that's why you see these sort of cringe moves, her bus tour, trotting out Obama, trotting out the Clintons, trotting out other, Clinton and Biden and Obama era officials to save her at the last minute.
Last night she trotted one of them out at a rally. It was Pete Buttigieg with his beard, which was strange because for a minute there I thought Abigail Spanberger was his beard. But no, it's actually a full-on kind of beard. Pete Buttigieg stumping for Abigail Spanberger last night. You will hear parts of that speech if you can tolerate it. We'll give you the latest polling. Also, some news from the DNC about an investment they're making in the Virginia race, and I sure hope the GOP is paying attention to that. We'll give you all of that and a whole lot more on all things Virginia. This is your place to be every single day, all day long, until Election Day, if you care about the future of the Commonwealth.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Your next $1,000 could be one text away. It's 5K a day on WMAL.
So there's been a bit of a distraction, as you're well aware. Last week there was a debate among the Attorney General candidates. Were you satisfied with the Democratic candidate, J. Jones's
I got to throw a flag
apology?
on that one too, and then we'll get back. Did you hear that this is an anchor of a local? This is why they just want to do these local news stations where they can pick and choose who's going to be interviewing them. Abigail Spanberger sitting down for a local newsman. And did you hear how he raised the J. Jones question with, well, there's been a bit of a distraction.
Distraction.
A distraction. A distraction.
And then he allowed her, if you watch the wider or longer clip, he let her just prattle on.
Yeah, no, we'll play it, but I just want to pause there for a minute. That this is supposedly a newsman who's delivering news and information to his viewers, and baked into the question is the acceptance of the premise that this whole thing is really just a distraction. It has nothing to do with the campaign.
That's right.
This man's character and his conduct and his demeanor and his temperament, and those people who are propping him up and enabling him, like Abigail Spanberger, who were just fine with his temperament and the way it was on display. It's just a distraction. Tell Todd Gilbert's wife it's a distraction.
Yeah.
Where she has has to sit there and think that the next attorney general can be a person who openly fantasized about the murder of her children.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a distraction. Okay, let's go back to it.
The then House Speaker.
Well, I want to begin by first, condemning clearly the text that he sent to a colleague, and I condemned them as soon as I learned of them, and called on Jay Jones to publicly explain himself. And I think that he's been quite clear in his apologies and in his taking ownership of that poor choice. And importantly, at this point, we've got hundreds of thousands of Virginians who have voted. Certainly, I think that debate was an important one for being able to show the contrast and the difference between two different approaches, for voters to be able to make a clear decision as they vote early or on election day for who will best defend them or work for them as Attorney General.
Just the worst. Absolutely.
Just, that is just word salad. My gosh.
I'll tell you, if you go back to April and May when Abigail Spanberger was, they already finished this race. They were measuring the curtains at the mansion in Richmond. They already knew that they were going to win. And all the smart set, the conventional wisdom for the Democrats and the media, but, it's the same. They were all saying that Abigail Spanberger was a front runner to be a running mate, if not the top of the ticket in 2028 for the national ticket. I'll tell you this, even if she ekes out a victory here in Virginia, she has revealed how not ready for prime time she is. She is really bad. Everything about Abigail Spanberger has been a media construct. They built her up. They lie about her, saying that she's a moderate, she's a reasonable one, she represents suburban women. It's all phony. It's all a fraud.
It's also interesting to me that the Democrats learned nothing. One thing that people, I think, collectively did not like, and this was across the board, this was not Republican or Democrat, was this word salad from Kamala. Yeah. These sort of long, winding answers than when you actually break them down. And what the best part of the race, I think, is when people would actually break down one of these long answers. And it turns out Kamala would say nothing. Nothing. She'd talk for a solid 90 seconds and she would say nothing. Spanberger does the same thing. It's irritating.
You know what it is? These are all people who came of age politically during the Obama era. Obama would do the same thing. He was just good at it.
Yes,
he was
clever.
Better at it.
Yes.
But he would talk for half an hour and say nothing.
True.
Spanberger and Kamala, to a lesser degree, are absolute disasters when they try to do it. Pete Buttigieg, he was in Virginia stumping for Spanberger and the entire ticket. In fact, listen to this, cut 14.
We've got a future leader and Democrats up and down the ticket who reflect that, who speak to people who want problem solving, not trolling, people who want a healthy civic life, not the gutter of the online comment section taking over our lives.
I'm sorry. Up and down the ticket, we've got people like that. They've got Jay Jones on the ticket, for God's sake.
Who?
Right. And Ghazala Hashmi? Are you kidding me?
Who won't even debate?
Yeah.
I mean,
Bill Nye, the science guy. That's trademarked. You have to say it.
Yeah, he doesn't.
He was also. How bad is it when you're trying to get votes in Virginia? You're Abigail Spanberger, and you say, "Who can we get?" Well, we can get Bill Nye. Oh, all right, fine. What the hell? Let's just get Bill Nye, I guess. Bill Nye showed up with his bow tie, and I got to tell you, they had college kids behind them. They always frame the shot.
Yeah.
With, they couldn't look more bored if they tried. As Bill Nye was talking, it's the image is just hilarious. They're all it's like, who is this boomer?
Irritated. I know that is such a Bill Nye. What kid? It talks about Bill Nye.
Right. A 20-year-old person in America right now has no idea who Bill Nye is.
Right.
So here's Bill Nye.
I grew up the road, across the river in Washington, D.C.
In 1920.
I did. My first job was in Arlington, Virginia, at a bike shop. I have a lot of family up there, also in nearby Sterling, Virginia. I have people down in Danville. I have people over in Newport News, and I have people way out in Roanoke.
Yeah.
I first heard about Abigail Spanberger after she famously explained to some Democratic Party operatives that they have to stop saying odd, strange, weird things, like defund the police. She knew it was a bad expression. So do you. Nobody wants to stop paying.
Really telling, by the way. That was her big claim to fame, that it was leaked. You know, who leaked it? It was leaked that in a conference call of Democrat leaders, she said, we got to stop saying these things. Not stop our position.
Believing it.
Yes, not changing
Phrase
our
it
policy. Just stop saying it out loud, everybody.
Yeah.
Be like me. Pretend like you're something else until you get elected, and then you can implement your defunding the police. But stop being so honest with the voters. That's
exactly right. And people sense that. I do love him trying to sort of, list his Virginia bona fides. I knew someone in Sterling. I worked at a bike shop before there were cars.
Well,
it's just...
I mean, he was answering the question that was on everybody's mind. What the hell is he doing?
Why are you here?
Yeah, exactly. We got Robert Kalehi with Trafalgar to give us the latest on the polls in Virginia coming up at 7:05. Right now it's 6:24.
Coming up, it's cow time. Keep it here at 6:30.
WMAL FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
We're having a blast this Wednesday morning, and we're just getting started. Why don't you come along for a ride with us? You can be shotgun. We're going to do the driving now. Don't worry. You're going to like where we're headed. Coming up at 7:05, Robert Cahaley of the Trafalgar Group. He's got the latest polls that he's conducted in Virginia, and he called the last governor's race pretty good. Then at 7:35, Judge Jeanine Pirro, your U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. 8:05 brings us Dr. Mark Siegel on that new report about peanut allergies. Everything the doctors and scientists told you was wrong. Do the opposite, and your kid will be fine, apparently. And then at 8:35, cast member of the new production of Aida at the Kennedy Center, Morris Robinson, as I mentioned. He's a good tenor. He's not one of those tenors I wouldn't give you 2 5s for.
Okay.
It's Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock. Julie actually is going to be making a cameo in Aida.
That's right.
Out there carrying a spear.
Right. Have a little dance number.
Just like a courtesan. Oh, did they give you a dance number? That's terrific.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Look forward to that. Speaking of tenors who I wouldn't give you 2 5s for, here he is. He's a syndicated columnist, really more of a baritone, but he can hit an E if necessary. Cal Thomas. Good morning, Cal.
Well, good morning to both of you. And Julie, I assume you're not playing the fat lady in Aida.
Wow. No.
Yeah, very good.
Yes. Every opera has one. Every opera has one. It's amazing.
You know, I'm listening to all these guests you've got coming up, Larry. My goodness, then you've got me. Just another indication of how standards are falling everywhere.
Cal, you are the leadoff batter. You're going to get on base, and you might get a signal to steal second. So just
well, that's more than the Nationals did this season.
Yes, for sure. Listen, turning your sights up to Gotham, this New York race. I was actually talking to some New Yorkers yesterday. I was up in Manhattan, actually, and they're Republicans. And I used to be a Republican living in New York. I don't know what I would do right now. I guess I'd vote for Curtis Sliwa, but there's a lot of pressure on him to drop out. He announced yesterday he would not be dropping out. If he did, though, there's this thought that all these votes would then go to Andrew Cuomo. I'm sorry, I don't think I could vote for Andrew Cuomo, Cal. This is just a disaster. Everyone's talking about how great Mamdani is. I think he's also benefiting from the fact that everybody hates Andrew Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa, a nice enough guy, but it's just kind of this is a quixotic campaign, to say the least.
Yeah. Well, I think what we have in New York is, and really around the country now, you have at least 2 generations who have grown up after the end of the Cold War. They've never had to face the threat of nuclear war from a Soviet Union. They've never had to see mass killings by Mao Zedong and Joe Stalin. And they're just living under this weird umbrella that somehow safety is a normal part of life. and they were not taught these things in history classes by liberal professors who basically denounce everything conservative and Republican. I mean, I'm old enough to remember, I don't know if you are, but in elementary school in Bethesda, Maryland, we had demonstrations of hiding under desks in case a nuclear bomb, not as if hiding under a desk is going to protect you from a nuclear bomb. So all this stuff is gone, and you've got now a couple of generations that don't know anything about this, and that's why Mamdani is so attractive. He's going to give people free bus rides, free groceries, and he's going to tax those evil white people to support those brown and black people who deserve other people's money.
Wow.
Well, you know, Cal, in addition to not teaching the horrors of communism, they're not teaching how wonderful America is. And in fact, they're teaching the opposite, that America is, you know, broken and flawed and racist and you know, whatever. So there's just no alternative but to go for the guy who's going to give you free stuff.
Well, they're going to be sorry. I mean,
they're
going to be sorry. Their businesses and individuals with wealth are already moving out, moving to Florida, moving to Texas, moving to other states with low or no taxes. And Jamie Dimon says he's going to stay for now, but you know, I think he's got maybe the largest building in Manhattan. But I don't see this working out well for New Yorkers. I think they're going to regret it. And this whole business of free stuff, we saw what happened to this store in Kansas City a few months ago that tried the free stuff giveaway for groceries.
Yeah.
It closed down. It went bankrupt. I mean, that should be a lesson for everybody. There's no such thing as free. It's got to be paid for by somebody. And the somebodies who make the money, who do the work, who live well and who abide by economic and moral laws are now being penalized for those who behave in the opposite manner. That's not going to last in New York.
The New York Post, the conservative editorial page, and really the direction of the tone of the New York Post is pretty conservative. Their headline today is "Just Walk Away, Beret" to Curtis Sliwa, thinking that Sliwa dropping. Again, I don't think that's going to make the difference. I don't see everyone suddenly voting for Andrew Cuomo. They just don't like him.
Well, the numbers, even if you add them up, there's not enough to defeat Mamdani. I mean, the guy is a dangerous anti-Semite. The Post had this little excerpt in yesterday's paper. Mamdani campaigned with a Brooklyn imam who was an unindicted co-conspirator in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, and once served, if you can believe it, as a character witness for the terrorist who organized it.
Yeah, for the blind sheikh. Yeah, no,
exactly.
Cal, it's terrifying. Just 30 seconds, though, just from a pure political analysis perspective. You know, I weep for New York. I love New York. It's terrible that this guy's going to. But if he does win, politically, Republicans now have this guy to point to and say, look, this is where the Democrats are now. This is where they'll take you. This is where they'll lead you. I would think that would help Republicans running everywhere else in the country.
Well, I would think. And look at the Attorney General's race in Virginia. You've got this guy, Jay Jones, who's made all these outrageous, unbelievable comments, and not a single national Democrat has condemned him. So they'll own New York with Mamdani. They'll own, if he wins in Virginia, they'll own him, and they'll have to defend an awful lot of indefensible stuff.
Thank you, Cal. Always good to talk to you. Take care.
Bye.
Mark Levin, weekdays 6 till 9 on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
It is 6:47 now, and we're doing our best to make sense of the news. We've got some updates on the D.C. crime picture, which Meredith and I did something we have not done in quite some time. We went to downtown D.C. on a Saturday night, southeast D.C.
Really?
I mean, just southeast. It was at the Museum of the Bible, but still, the Museum of the Bible, like 4 years ago, we probably wouldn't have gone there. We went to see Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe at the theater there, parked on the street, walked down the block. It was pristine. It was beautiful.
Wow.
There was no hooligans on the street. It's typical D.C. behavior from the last 5 years has been completely cleaned up. Jeanine Pirro, part of the solution here in D.C. in making it livable again and civilized again, was on Fox News yesterday and revealed quite a bit about what she's learned now in the few months that she's been the D.C. attorney. Let's go to cut 18, please.
We can give rehabilitation, Dana, in the criminal court for young offenders who deserve it. But there is no message of accountability here. And right now, in my office, when I got here, the prosecutor before me, the Biden prosecutor, did not paper something like 65% of the arrests. That means that when police made an arrest, the prosecutor wouldn't even prosecute. My papering rate is 92%. Those cops make an arrest, I've got their back. I'm going to file those charges. And whatever happens, so be it. But they know right now that we're going to fight the fight. I've got prosecutors now who understand what my mission is, who know that our job is to prosecute crime. I came into this office, we're down 90 prosecutors, 150 investigators and paralegals. This was a neglected, unattended to office. We're changing everything in D.C., and we're going to make a difference. And thanks to President Trump and the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, we've got a full court press on this.
This is so important, and we've got a little bit more from her yesterday. And the good news is we're going to have even more from Judge Jeanine Pirro because she's going to be on this program at 7:35 live to talk about this. But did you hear those stats? You know, listen, the National Guard gets a lot of the attention because it's a visual, and they're in fatigues and they're on the streets. And other law enforcement reinforcements in Washington, D.C., that gets a lot of the attention. But one of the real problems here, and we've talked to cops about it, we've talked to the head of the police union here in D.C., one of the real problems that cops will tell you about the crime in Washington and in other cities around the country is the prosecutors. I want to repeat what she just said. The previous prosecutor in the district refused to prosecute 65% of the crimes. She has now prosecuted 92% of the crimes. That swing right there, and putting criminals behind bars, number one, cleans up the streets because the criminals aren't walking the streets, but number two, sends a message to future criminals that, hey, you want to break the law? Fine, don't do it here. Go somewhere else and do it.
It doesn't just send a message to the criminals. It sends a message to the cops. Yes. Why in the world would you arrest someone? Why would you pursue someone? Why would you put the effort in if they're just going to release them back on the street? Just leave them there. Think of the paperwork you save, right? What are you I mean, that is the message that it sends to just as important. And it sends a message to the public that you actually can go outside.
Spot on. Spot on. You talk to cops in any of these cities where you've got prosecutors who let people walk, they shrug. They say, what's the point? What's the point? And people know. And then you know, if you're getting shoplifted, the owner of the store, we've seen all the videos where people just stand around and not do anything because what's the point?
Larry,
and that's how civilizations crumble.
You know, I've recommended this guy to everyone on X, Kevin Dahlgren, who really shows what's going on in Seattle in a real way. Yes. And the things that first responders, that police, fire, EMS have to deal with on the streets of Seattle, it's similar in every big city, particularly those run by Democrats. I mean, it's grotesque, some of the things that they have to deal with. And again, but in many cases when you're dealing with violent criminals, it's dangerous. Why would you put your life at risk if they're going to just let these people walk?
Well said. And one last thing on this, and then I want you to hear more from Jeanine Pirro. And again, we're going to talk to her live right here at 7:35. The reason why it's important that it's happening in Washington is because it will be so hyper covered in the media, and other cities around the country are going to see, hey, if they were able to fix D.C. so quickly, why can't we do that here? And in fact, Memphis, we've already got some results from Trump's excursion into Memphis now over the last 6 weeks. That's a red state. Thank you. All the criticism, he's only looking at blue states. Yeah, well, Memphis has already gotten on the right track. We'll share that with you later. Here's Jeanine Pirro, though, after revealing that a judge put the 19-year-old Lawrence Cotton Powell, this is a suspect in the attack on the Doge employee, the former Doge employee who goes by the name Big Balls. You remember that. Well, cut 21 here. Here's more information on that attack.
They continued to attack Levine while he was on the ground and then proceeded to rob him of his sneakers and his watch. The group then after the robbery and assault of Ethan Levine, they walked in the direction of where another crime occurred within minutes. You have heard of this crime. Edward Korestein, a 19-year-old Doge person who was working in the administration, was walking a young woman to her car when he was approached in the 1400 block of Swan Street Northwest. Approximately 10 suspects approached him, and as they did, he pushed the young woman into the car. And he was protecting her from the group before he was then attacked by multiple suspects who then punched him repeatedly, causing significant injuries to him. They got him on the ground, and as they were doing so, they demanded the car from the woman who was inside the car and had already locked the car. They were banging on the car. They were pulling the car door, trying to get the car open, and were telling the woman in the car to hand over the keys. And the woman was, as I said, able to lock the car door, so they were unable to gain entry.
Yeah, and once again, I want to repeat, the 19-year-old in that attack has already been set free by a judge. We're going to have Judge Janine give us more details on this and the current situation with crime in D.C. coming up at 7:35. Right now it's 6:54.